Those who just want a simple tool just to assemble. We have seen a rig yesterday or the day before, which is automatically turning the camera, so it's taking a whole series of images which are hopefully level, and there is some very simple software to stitch these together. Maybe you'll have to rotate them yourselves beforehand in Photoshop or something like that, so they're more or less aligned. But it's a very easy to use software, and it costs nothing. So it's an interesting alternative. Oh, there's strange colors there. I turned down the resolution. I'm looking for a faster PC. That's better. Okay, go with that. Short story behind this software. I got it on a CD which went with a sound card. Don't ask me where's the relationship. But well, therefore it's free. And it's very, very easy to use. Prepared a few examples, I'll just show one here. This is the software.
A little louder, Carlo, please.
Yeah. You've seen a little notice upgrade here. There is a professional version which costs dollars, but this one was free. So it's a very simple user interface, and it's just as easy to use. You've got 3 steps there: snap, stitch, and publish. The only thing you've got to do to publish is to register. You get a key, otherwise you won't be able to save what you have created. But it's still free. I don't know if some of the spam I get comes from there, but well. There is an interface possibility to camera or scanner, which I don't use generally, but you can do it. So I'm just going to take a few pictures here, which I can have a look at first, and then select them. There they are. You may know the place. Not far from here. Now, these are in the right order, from left to right. You can shift them around just by dragging and dropping. So if they're not in the right order, no problem. But you have to give them in the order. They have to be stitched together. You can add, if you forgot one, you can add it. You can take pictures away. Sometimes when you take your pictures, or if your rig is done like that, it's rotating like this, so they are in a reverse order. That's no problem. Just switch it around. So you got your pictures. They have to overlap at least 15–20% from my experience. Otherwise, he won't be able to easily find himself where to stitch them together, because that's what he's doing. You have the possibility to manually help him out if he has a problem. But the first thing I always do is just go on automatic, stitch. Now it's interesting, I also use Photoshop Elements. Photoshop Elements couldn't do this. Although it has a panorama stitching functionality, it just wouldn't. It would go out of memory on the 3rd picture. And it would take 10 times as much time. So you see, it's quite fast. And this is just an approximation now, which is showing it. So if it's a little bit off, it's no problem. It's just a preview. Now the nice thing, when it's finished, it's going to animate it. Somebody stop the time it took? A minute? Huh? Well, when it's animated, it's a bit coarse, let's say. But if you stop it, it gets more detailed. It gets finer image. Huh?
Did they do color kind of changing to make the sky?
Nothing at all. All on automatic.
Yeah. But
He compensates for. Sorry?
The software does it.
The software corrected brightness and things like that. Now about color cast, I don't know. If you have some part which is in daylight and some part which is in artificial light, you may get a problem. But it's probably not the case with CAP. Yes?
Just real quick, I have the software also, and it's neat to know that if you register, this is the only software that will allow you, they actually have a version that goes on a handheld PC.
Yeah.
So if that's of interest to anybody, you can actually take your panoramas with you for whatever it exports. It's the only one that I know that does that.
Mm.
What's this called?
It's free. Well, I'm not sure at the moment if you can download it for free from their website. It's from Creative. No, from Pixaround. I got it with the Creative sound card. And it's from Pixaround, pixaround.com. Pixaround.com. Like Pixmaker, but Pixaround.com. If you don't get it, send me an email. It's no problem.
Can you zoom out?
Zoom out? No, you can zoom in. We are at the outer limit.
Well, zoom in, man.
You can.
It's out all the way.
Well, the result depends on the resolution of the picture you took. This was taken with a C1 with 1.3 megapixels, so you see the pixels now, of course. You can still, if you want to get seasick, you can with your mouse slowly move around or faster until you get to the end. You can stop at any moment, go more slowly. Well, on the touchpad it's a bit difficult, a bit touchy, let's say. There we are. And zoom out again.
Did you have the exposure lock on your camera? Instead of here?
No, actually the C1 doesn't have one. You can't lock the exposure. But I tried to, before taking each picture, I tried to meter always on the vegetation, so I have more or less the same light. If there's too much difference between two parts, between two pictures, you may have a problem if you have sky. I have pictures where he couldn't just get the sky assembled, so you wouldn't see it. But there you can still manually tell him to use more or less blending. That's necessary sometimes if you are too near to like a lamppost, things like that. Then you get ghost images, you get it twice. And they may have to reduce the width of the blending, so you get rid of one. But usually he defaults to 10% of the image, and usually that works just fine. Sometimes you'll have to go farther for the sky or less for things that are near and get ghosted. Evidently here, if there were people walking there, I tried one other panorama where I've got one of us here twice on the same picture, because he was walking while I was taking the pictures. Well, that's where Photoshop comes in.
Carlo, it's worth mentioning as well that you can do a full 360
Yes,
stitch.
that's what I wanted to say here. I took, this was I think 8 pictures, something like that, 6 or 8 pictures, yes. And here you can say, if you have just a partial like this one, or 360. So we will assemble it at the other end. So you can completely go around as much as you want. The other thing you have to give him to help is focal length that you used in 35mm equivalent. So if you have a digital camera, you have to enter here not the real focal length of the digital camera, but the 35mm equivalent. Yeah, some predefined values, but you can type in any value you want. I had one case where I had not really a panorama shot like this, but I was actually on a boat going along a coastline. And that's a completely different situation. So I took a long focal length, around 100 or 150 millimeter, and I was just clicking while the boat was passing by. So I had a flat image. And to tell him so, I just entered here 2000 millimeters as a focal length. So that was approximately the same effect. So you have to cheat a bit on that. But it's not the normal situation you take for panorama. So what can I do with the result? I can publish it. Three possibilities. A skiing, you'll just create one large JPEG, which you can print or get printed, whatever. I did that with lots of panoramas I took in Scotland this year, and it's fantastic. You can create a web page. I'll show you examples of that. Or a postcard. What's a postcard? I sent such electronic postcards for my holiday. It's just he creates an executable file which does exactly the same animation I have here. And I can add some text below. Hi, greetings. Oh. I'll show you these. Why don't I have an image here? That'd be easier. So that was the breakers, and I already have here my HTML page. It's generated in 2 seconds. It's really fast. Yeah, I got the same. No? Okay, he's showing it. And there you are. It's an HTML page. That's the title I put in, and it's one of 3 layouts you get to choose, but it's just a start. If you're doing it on a web page, you have your template for your layout anyway, but you can take this and put it in your web page. It's all there. And you have the same functionality here for zooming or manual rotation, as much as you want. So the same functionality, but at lower resolution, of course. Not everyone has a T1 line at home. So, and then this is the executable, which I can send as a postcard. Well, I took here best resolution and lowest compression, full size of the original. 1.1 megabyte, maybe a bit much for an email. But you can choose a lower resolution, you can reduce the size, or you can take more compression, which reduces quality. And the result is just the same as in the program itself. So you can email that and people will say, oh, nice there. Might come back. So you see, this is just a very simple software, easy to use, and relatively cheap, I'd say. Yes?
I just have a comment about stitching images. You were talking about the sky being hard to blend sometimes. One of the things I found is to leave the polarizer off the camera when you're doing any sort of panorama work, because the polarizer will unevenly polarize the sky and make the stitching.
Polarizer is never good for panoramas, yes. Even for wide angle, because you have it's unnatural. If you have more than 90 degrees of visual angle, you get one side a dark sky and on the other side a light sky. So it's not good to use polarizer anyway. Yeah, yeah. Yes?
Does it allow you to stitch portrait photos as opposed to landscape?
Yes and no. Rotate them before, stitch them, and rotate the result back.
No, I mean when you shoot in portrait mode as opposed to landscape.
Ah, yes, yes, of course, no problem, no problem. No, I mean you can have a panorama that is a picture like that, but then you'll have to rotate them and assemble them and rotate the result back. Huh? But you can take portrait shots and just put them together like that. Huh?
Yes. Talking about rotate the images before you stitch them.
That's if you want to have, if the final image is vertical, you can't stitch vertically. That's no problem. That's the same thing. No? That's the same thing. I tried it. It works. The only risk is it's always a bit of a problem if your subject is too near because of the distortion. And this tends to be a bigger problem if your pictures are portrait than if they are landscape. Because on the longer side you have more distortion than on the shorter side. So that's the thing too. But if your subject is far enough away, that's not really a problem. Same with these ghost objects. Ghost objects are just a problem. Objects that are near can be ghosted. Objects that are far away probably will never be ghosted. So that's not a problem. Any other questions? If you can't download it, contact me.
Where again can we get this software?
I think it's available for download from their site, and if not, send me an email. It's not big. It's not big as an executable. They have also, I think the professional version allows you to define hotspots on the scene, so you can click on these hotspots and come to another scene. Like in, well, what it can't do is inside panoramas because of angled corners in the picture. You just get this thing. So forget it for indoor. Anything else? Thank you.